How hot is it in Temecula and Murrieta? What about Menifee and Canyon Lake and Lake Elsinore? We'll talk about that. Let's go. My name's Chris. I'm married to Jessica. We have two boys, Joshua and Bobby, and a doggy named Zoe. Jessica's gonna take this week off, so you're gonna have to deal with the B team this week. Stick around to the end, see how bad this video is. All right, let's get to the topic. How hot is it in Murrieta and Temecula? I used to work out in Rancho Mirage in Palm Springs, the Coachella Valley, and there's a saying, 100 days of 100 degrees. And that's definitely true, and I would just add 20 days of 120. So my point of all that is, it's not like Palm Springs hot here in Murrieta and Temecula. Here's what I think the 100 hottest days are like in Murrieta and Temecula. I think there's like 10 days out of those 100 that are over 100 or 105 tops. The other 40 days, I'd say 90 to 100, and the other 50 aren't even really that hot, 85 to say 90. So here's a chart I put together. You can see this big rectangle box around June, July, August, and September. That's showing us our hottest months, and you'll see 91, 98, 99, 94 as your average high. And just wrote a little note in there about the whole house fan on most nights, and that's true. If you see any of Jessica's other videos, we talk about the whole house fan. It's one of my favorite things in real estate. And I'll just say that even now, it's mid-July going on August here pretty soon, and I've been still running that every single night. It's been cool enough when the sun goes down that I'll open up the windows and bring in that cool air using my whole house fan. And that's how the nights go for almost the entire summer. So there's only a handful of nights for us that you need to run air conditioning all day and all night, and particularly all night is a super rare thing. I can't hardly think of a handful of days in a year it's like that. Going back to those hottest months of 91, 98, 99, 94, as the average high. That is different than other info sources I found, like the NOAA, National Oceanic Administration of America, maybe? Anyway, I pulled these numbers from that website, and then there's also Google. When you Google it, I'll show you that right there. That shows actually 83, 90, 91, 89. As the average high. So for example, that NOAA, I dug into that, and that was giving me a Santa Rosa plateau, which has some elevation up there in the hill near where we live here in Copper Canyon. And so those are lower. We were going to start to compare the cities, and I think even if one info source is slightly different on what the actual high for a given day and month might be, I think it's useful to compare Murrieta to Temecula to Menifee. And one interesting thing that I found was some of these sources show Temecula as 1 degree hotter, which is opposite, I think, what most people say. And my only thought on that is, once you get out there in Temecula, in wine country, it is hotter and drier, but there's most of the areas in Temecula that people are looking at and living, neighborhoods and so forth, they're nice and green and landscape, so that kind of just gives you the sense of coolness when you're there. And also, as you head south towards the south and the southwest side of Temecula, the hills are green, and the ocean air does come over that hill because you keep heading south and you're in San Diego County. Let's move on a little bit. Murrieta and Temecula, let's just consider them the same, okay? But let's talk about some of those other cities like Menifee. Jessica and I do a lot of business out in Menifee Heritage Lake, and this particular info source shows Menifee at +6 with highs in June, July, August, September of 89, 96, 97, 94, and I believe that mid and upper 90s in Menifee, it is hotter out there, and about +6 on these monthly average type numbers, that sounds right to me. Now moving on to Canyon Lake versus Murrieta Temecula. I'm just going to call it plus 10 out there. And now this is just sort of my opinion and some psychology, so let's talk about that. When you're going through Canyon Lake and you're seeing the golf course and then people in the golf carts, like the monster truck golf carts, and then you go down by the lake and you see people on the power boats, it just feels like Havasu. And it feels like Havasu. It seems like Havasu. And in the summer, I'd say it's basically Havasu out there. So we've kind of focused on the summer, the hottest part of the year. Making this video in July, August. It's hot. This is when people are asking this question. Let's talk about the rest of the year, the rest of the year, and why we all live here, why it's so nice. Now, I hope this doesn't put you to sleep, but let's just briefly run through kind of the other months and the seasons that make up the rest of the year. Again, why it's so nice, why everyone wants to live here. So I'm going to focus on Murrieta because this channel is moving to Murrieta, and like I said, let's consider Murrieta and Temecula the same. So starting with January and February and March, say, it's not really the winter. It's the 50s and 60s is the high, and the lows aren't too low. So that's just a beautiful time of year, maybe light jacket. Now March rolls around and it does start to feel a little warmer. The temps are only in the low 70s though, but it is sunny and warm feeling. It feels like spring. Now, getting into April, that's when Coachella happens out there in the Coachella Valley in Palm Springs. And so that's when the temperatures start to be in the mid 70s and 80s on the hotter days, 80s. And that starts to feel warm, and that's where the summer is starting to come. But it's still really nice. So March, April, May, even June, I'd call 80s and the 90s a little bit. So we've talked enough about the summer. Again, that's like 90s, sometimes 100. Intermittent 100, not really though. Just mostly 90s. September, October, it does start to cool off. September's still hot, but October is when you start to have fall in Southern California. It's not like fall in other regions. There are trees and there's some changing of the colors of the leaves and everything, but it's still pretty dang warm and nice. And that's in the days and nights. Now winter, October and November, December, say. That's again where kind of like I started the monthly rundown, January to February. November and December, those are your 50s and 60s again, and it's not really winter, really. You can have beautiful 70s, even sometimes 80s, all winter long. We've had Christmas brunch outside on the patio before. Well, if you made it this far, the video wasn't too bad. I appreciate you watching. Jessica will be back next week. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks. Bye.